Hey guys, Mel the Train Tutor here again, and in this tutorial we're going to be looking at swamps and boggy ground. Should we crack on? Let's go. When it comes to things like swamps, marshes, bogs, there's a couple of key features they all sort of pretty much have in common. Okay, now first off, yeah, they typically be either very wet or have small pools of water or water channels, etc. Yeah, but obviously presence of water. Yeah, on top of that, yeah, they tend to be quite rough ground. Okay, and they also tend to be quite overgrown. Now this is because, you know, these sort of places aren't the best to rear animals or travel over, so they're not cultivated. And on top of that, you know, they tend, because of the water, you know, and the plant life dying in the water and that sort of stuff, because it tends to be still water. Yeah, there's a lot of nutrients, so things tend to overgrow. And if you can sort of, you know, factor that in with, you know, the not travelling that much and not cultivating, and they become very overgrown and very rugged and patchy water, and that's what I'm trying to replicate here. Now typically when we do our terrain, yeah, we do something like this. So when we do a pond or a water feature, we'll get a base and we'll build a lip up, yeah, for us to pour our resin in or our water effects to get that sort of edge effect. Okay, now it doesn't matter whether it's a sharp edge or whether it comes in and goes back down, yeah, but we get that lip. Now with this case, what I wanted to do is, because I wanted to keep it sort of low profile, yeah, I'm going to show you an alternative way of doing it. Now what I've got here is, I've got 6mm MDF, yeah, obviously cut into a base, and I've just drawn some rough, rough sort of circles in it, as you can see. Yeah, these are going to be my water patches with a bit of room for the occasional base in between them, but generally these are going to be used to sort of prevent troop movement over the battlefield. So what I'm going to do is, instead of building the lip up, okay, I'm going to do that a little, but to get my pools in and to get it looking flat, yeah, I'm going to use, let me bring that up. Bet you're not going to focus on it. Probably not going to focus, let me bring my hand there. Right, this is basically a cutting engraving metal bit for my Dremel, yeah, and I got this for this set, yeah, from eBay. I think it cost £1. But basically what I'm going to do is, I'm literally going to go and drill straight into here, yeah, and well, not drill, but I'm going to basically Dremel out, yeah, all these gaps to leave sort of ponds that I can work with. Okay, now a couple of key points. This is MDF, yeah, filing it, cutting it, doing anything like that produces MDF dust. You do not want MDF dust in your lungs, so wear a mask. Now I'm going to put a mask on in just a second, yeah. On top of that, because I'm in my kitchen, yeah, I've got the Hoover, yeah. So what I'm basically going to be doing is, I'll pin it like that, so I've got a good vacuum there, and then I can just Dremel away. Yeah, and then that'll suck the vast majority of the waste up. Now this bit is made for working with metal, so it's going to chew through this stuff. It's 6mm thick, so I'm going to be looking for about 3 to 4mm maximum. Yeah, I'm not really worried about how rough or, you know, whether it's perfect, because I'm going to be putting filler over it anyway as I build up the base. But, you know, I just want to get that depth. So I'm going to whack my mask on now, yeah, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to mute the sound down as this bit, because it's going to get bloody loud. Am I allowed to say bloody? Yeah, I'm sure I'm allowed to say it. It's not really swearing, is it? Well, tell me kids it's not swearing, so yeah, we're good with that. Yeah, let's move on, eh? So, it's going to get loud. I'm going to show you how to basically Dremel out the hole and what I'm doing, and then we'll come back once I've done one, yeah? So, right, mask on. Right. Yeah, see, it does generate quite a bit of mess, and that's with the Hoover right by it. But if I bring that up now, do you see that? Yeah, it's a regular pattern, I just followed it, yeah, and as you can see, the bottom isn't perfect, but I've got that depth, okay, and if I was to turn it over, yeah, there's nothing, no effect on the other side whatsoever, yeah, and that's how I'm going to get my little puddles, my pools, yeah, the depth doesn't really matter that much, because we're going to paint it dark underneath anyway, so once the resin's in, you won't be able to see how deep it is anyway. It will just look deep. Yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get cracked on with this, yeah, and then I'll come back when it's all done and we'll start covering it with filler. So there we have it, yeah, all our pools are in place. Now I wouldn't recommend this for actually doing ponds because it's too much work, to be perfectly honest, and if you did it over a large area, you may I don't know if you would, but you could possibly sort of reduce the stability, you know, and you might have warping issues. But over small pools and dips like this, perfectly fine. Okay, and if I turn it over, yeah, absolutely clean, as you can see. Right, next stage we're going to go on to is fillering up. So what I'm going to do is go sort the filler stuff out. Forgot to mention this, guys. Obviously I've Dremeled it out, and just before I go to the filler bit, yeah, all I need to do is very quickly get a bit of sandpaper and just take some of these rough edges off. Yeah, now obviously this would be a lot easier if I had a router, yeah, but I don't have a router, yeah, so I have to use a Dremel. And as you can see, let me bring that up, can you see it there? Yeah, a lot smoother. Okay, and it's also smoothed off all the edges around it, so it's going to blend in easier. Next stage is our filler. Yeah, so just let me very carefully pour that there. Yeah, now obviously I'm working with filler. My preferred filler. Yeah, that's no, there. It's like a yeah. That. Right, my preferred filler is B&Q's basic home brand, yeah. And in this particular instance, it's quite handy not to have a fresh tub. And the reason being is you want it sort of sloppy at the bottom and a bit firm around the edges, because we're going to use those firm lumps to build a sort of ridges up, and that's our rough ground. Now you don't have to cover the entire base in filler. Yeah, we're not going to use filler for stippling like I've done the other ones. We're going to use rock texture, much like these, okay? But I do need to lay down the foundations of the drop, so to speak. So, a couple of key tools, damp cloth. Yeah, obviously filler is water soluble. Yeah, so a bit of water so we can work with it. Actually, this is quite firm anyway. Yeah, lump on my finger. There's a lump. And then wedge it down in sort of the highest place, and yeah, you've got to sort of go from the edges and smooth it down. If you try and plop it down and pull it off, it'll just come off with your finger, as you can see. Yeah, and right now all I want is just to get really rough bits down, get a bit of volume on it. Now as you can see, yeah, I've got some sort of lumps and bumps on it. Yeah. Next job, give a finger, dip it in the water, yeah, just so it's damp, and just very quickly skim over. Yeah, and what I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to completely soak it down and make it disappear. All I'm trying to do is just blend the edges just a little bit, because we're going to be putting PVA and that sort of stuff over this anyway. Yeah, I just need to get rid of the sort of real harshness of it and some of the hard bumps, and just get a bit smoother. Okay, and as you can see, I've got to get these camera angles, guys. I'm getting better. I'm sort of looking at it awkward anyway. But that's all smoothed out now, and I've got some nice bumps and ridges. One little last thing is just get a little bit, yeah, a little bit of water. Smear a bit in each one. Okay, and what you're going to do is come back and really water it down. Yeah, and all that's going to do is it's going to seal it off and just get rid of any of the last sort of real big bumps and that sort of stuff. Okay, and there we have it. Yeah, that's all going to soak in now and basically seal it. As you can see, it's already drying there, and it's filled in a couple of the pits and the few remaining really deep bits, and just smoothed off that layer a bit better. Yeah, we've got a nice blended edges here, and all I've got to do now is leave this to dry overnight so that I can come back and I can PVA and grit it tomorrow. So, I'll see you in the morning, guys. Okay guys, it's the morning after and the base is completely dried, and if I bring that up you can sort of see that. All those little divots have been filled in, and we've got sort of an undulate, can you see that? As best you can. I've got a bit of an undulating texture, rough ground texture. Next stage is obviously to texture it up. Yeah, we're going to do this by using PVA. Yeah, cheapo brush, got a cloth here and some water. Then what I've got over here is a mixture, starting off with large rocks. I'm not going to use that many of those, to be truthful, because swamps don't tend to be rocky places. You can get rocks if they're at the bottom of a valley, etc., and you know, weathers carry the rocks down off the mountains. But generally swamps, bogs, that sort of stuff, they're not rocky areas. Yeah, doesn't mean they can't be, but generally they're not. Anything is possible in nature, trust me. Yeah. Then we've got smaller rocks, grit, and then finally fine sand. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the PVA on, brush it around. I'm going to avoid these, yeah. If I get some in, don't worry, I'll clean it up afterwards, yeah. And then we're going to apply our rocks. So let's crack on, eh? Okay guys, there it is, it's all gravelled up, yeah, just a quick check it over. Right, the next job I've got to do is basically seal this, yeah, with watered down PVA. This is a 50-50 mix with a little bit of washing up liquid, dishwashing detergent in it, just to act as a simple flow aid, a cheap simple flow aid. Now I need to leave this dry, and then what I'll do is I'll soak this in PVA and leave it overnight. All this extra that's fallen down onto here, what I basically do is I'll collect this all up and I'll re-sieve it back into these various tubs along with a load of from other projects. I have a big sieving tub, yeah, that everything goes back into, all the waste, and then I re-sieve, and when I do start of a new one, save, just keep doing it. But I'm rambling. Anyway guys, what you got? You'll see a photo of the sealing process coming up. There's no point me showing it, yeah. Yeah, you've seen it in plenty of videos, and we'll come back when it's time to get painting. See you in a minute, guys. So I finished all the painting and flocking, as you saw in those photos. I didn't see the point in actually talking you through it because, I mean, it's quite simple. I mean, your texture is normal. The only main difference is, obviously, I've gone with the darker brown in the, in the actual swamp pools, the muddy ground pools. As I said at the start of the project, this is for a very dry environment, so it's actually quite challenging because all the flocks, etc. Normally if I was doing a swamp I would go very green, luscious green, but I've got to tie this in with northern Greece, and these hills, and so that sort of led me more down the road of areas of lowland that, you know, with flash floods and quick downpours can develop quite boggy, but the mainland dry out quite quickly, so you don't get that green growth. So that's basically how I've pulled this off, yeah. The same principles apply with building Northern European swamp. The only difference is you'd go for your greener greens, okay, but exactly the same procedure applies. Now, to finish it off, yeah, what I'm going for is I'm going for Envirotex. Now I've got it here warming up. I've got my baby wipes because they're the solvent for Envirotex. I've got a very dark acrylic, yeah, to change the opacity of the Envirotex, yeah, and a little tub to mix it in. So what I'm going to do is mix that up now. So let's crack on. So resin first. So there's my mixed up Envirotex resin with pigment, etc. It's really bubbly at the minute because that's all the chemicals going off, and we'll sort that when it goes in. Okay, very quickly, if you've never worked with Envirotex before, I'll throw a link up to the product overview. Follow it on there because it's quite complicated, but once you know, it's easy to do. So the next job is, obviously I've got to pour the Envirotex in. Yeah, and I'm just putting little blobs. I've got to be really careful not to get it anywhere it shouldn't go, so to speak. In fact, just very quickly, I'll clean that up. Now I can always come back and add more, obviously. Yeah. But But the next thing I need to do is just pick this up and roll it around and just get that Envirotex to spread. I could use a brush if I wanted to. In fact, I think I might. Watch what I'm doing. Use a cheapo brush. Yeah, cheapo brush, nothing on it. And I can use that to spread the Envirotex out. Yeah, because I don't think I'm going to be able to just roll it up to the corners. The thing is, you can spread the Envirotex out and then add more into it once the sort of edges have been defined. So I'm going to crack on with this and we'll come back once this is done. Yeah. So there we have it, guys. That's it done. Okay, all nicely spread. I've just got to let this cure now. And then I've already blown on it. Oh, there's a couple of bubbles there I need to get rid of. That's not bubbles, what's that? I don't know. I'll sort that. But there we are, guys, all done. So guys, we'll come back once this is once this is all done. Catch you soon. So guys, the Envirotex has dried and that's all done now. There you go. Yeah, doesn't it look nice? Pretty. Okay, so obviously this is a dry environment. If you're doing a normal swamp, you go a lot greener, and no doubt I will be doing other swamps in the future, so you know, we'll come back and revisit the colours and that sort of stuff then. But the principles apply the same no matter what sort of boggy ground you're doing. Using that Dremel to go down, using the filler, or even air drying clay, or just use something to sort of undulate the ground a bit, break it up, use your water effects. Remember, swamps are heavy foliage areas, rough ground. Okay guys, so I hope you found this tutorial interesting. As always, like it if you like it. If you've got any questions, any suggestions, any comments, throw them down into the comments, guys. You know I always answer my comments. If you're doing terrain builds and you're looking for a little bit of support and want to show off your builds, check out the Terrainiacs Facebook support group. Yeah, it's in the description. Yeah, so go check the link in the description. And finally, if you like what I do, then check out the link for the Patreon thing and, you know, throw me a book. But no pressure on that whatsoever, you know. I'm still going to do what I'm going to do. Yeah, because, you know, I'm all about the terrain. That's cheesy. I've got to find a better way of finishing these videos, folks. I really have. Anyway, guys, I've got tons to be cracking on with, so I'm going to crack on and I'll see you in the next video. All the best, yeah? Ta-ra.